kind of nice surprise. We didn't have to go to school yesterday. That's pretty awesome. For me, it was just a nice opportunity to not have to miss another day with you guys. But um, so here we are. Everything we were going to do yesterday got bumped to today. As you can see, I'm very much in my comfy clothes because when you have nothing else to do besides answer the DoorDash order, there's no reason to put on anything formal. So today we got a few things we got going on, but I just want to give you this instructional video, and this is kind of how I want to structure some of the days. No matter what you, well, there's my dog. She's probably going to come in the video. No matter what you, there she is. Hi, Belle. Yep. Okay. No matter who the sub is, I want to put together an instructional video for you guys so we can all be on the same page. The first thing is if you did not watch the video that I posted on Monday, I did inform you that I'm gonna have a Zoom link open for you. So if you have questions, if you have issues, if you need some support, if you just need to check in, I'll kind of be hanging out on that Zoom during class time. So if you want to pop on, ask a question, feel free to do so. You might get chucked in the waiting room for a second, but ask whoever the sub is for each day and make sure that's okay for you to do that. But go ahead and hop on the Zoom if you have issues, okay? First thing we're going to do today, we're going to start with the journal, so composition notebooks, put your heading in there, all that good stuff. And we're going to work with the big question for Unit 2, and that is how do people find freedom in the midst of oppression? And I know it's a really big question. It's intentionally a big question. How do people find freedom when they are being oppressed? If you don't know what oppression is, you might need to look up a formal definition, but oppression is a lot of what we've been talking about recently when it comes to systems that tend to hold certain people or certain groups of people down. So thinking about how people find freedom in those oppressive systems can be a big question. I'll give you an example, and one of the things that I think, and maybe it's just because I'm a teacher, but I think that human beings find freedom in the midst of oppression through education. Oftentimes, oppressive systems or governments or societies don't want their citizens to be educated because education often leads to a sense of freedom and an understanding of those government systems. So I think for me, I would write a little bit about how education is a way to find freedom in the midst of oppression. So just know that that's there. Know that the Zoom link is there. Know we're going to start with a journal. Have a good discussion. Feel free to participate. That's obviously how we can do our own little piece of work for the day. Next thing we're going to do after that is we're going to go to GimKit, and I've assigned you the coordination of sentences GimKit. So we might not be able to play it live, but you will be able to play. I think I set the goal to about $1 million, so you'll be able to play to your heart's content. You'll notice this GimKit was GimKit collabed with some of the classes from last semester, so you see some goofy pictures, some sentences about your classmates, those sorts of things. It'll be kind of fun, but get used to using your fanboys, your coordinated conjunctions, and your semicolons, because that's what you're going to do on this GimKit. If looking at some of your sentences from Monday, the biggest misconceptions that we had, or the biggest mistakes that we made, were we weren't punctuating correctly, comma, for, comma, and, comma, nor, comma, but, comma, or, comma, yet, comma, so, okay? Or maybe you weren't actually joining two independent clauses. Remember, if I say I like cheese and bologna, I don't need a comma there because bologna is not its own sentence. So ask yourself, is this really a complete sentence? If so, that's when you use a comma, coordinated conjunction, and then another independent clause. Okay. Semicolons looked okay. Just make sure your spacing's all right. So work on the GimKit for a while. Get good at recognizing what coordination is and what it isn't. The next thing you're going to do is you are going to kick over to HMH Ed, and I'm going to kind of highlight here the student edition for Hidden Figures. All right. And Hidden Figures this is actually an excerpt. So it's not the whole thing, but it's an excerpt from a piece that was written by Margot Lee Shetterly. And it's kind of a sort of a biographical piece about a group of women who worked at NASA to help with spaceflight. And actually, quite a few years ago, it was made into a motion picture that I think won an Oscar. But the story is really compelling, and so this is just an excerpt from it. And in some ways, you'll notice how this fits the theme of oppression, because you'll notice that women, and especially women of color, in this excerpt are mentioned as having less opportunities, being paid less, those sorts of things, and yet those women were able to kind of overcome some of that oppression. So that's sort of the theme for this piece. If you want to read it individually out loud, I'll kind of leave that up to you and whoever's subbing for the day. But feel free to read through that. It's a really interesting piece, but annotate it, okay? In your consumable textbook, make sure you annotate it. Some of us are getting really, really good at our annotations, and some of us could still use some practice. But remember, highlight what's important, summarize the main points, circle things you think are important, or underline things you don't know what they mean, put question marks next to questions you have, define words that you don't know what they mean. That interaction with the text will help you understand, because based on some of your responses that we've had in the first few weeks of school, sometimes we're not getting the main idea of things, and I think that's a skill we have to have by now, okay? So once we've read it, you're going to kick over to Classroom, and on Classroom, I have posted the Hidden Figures Analyze the Text. It's real short. There's really not that many of them. There's, I think, 4 prompts. But again, based off your understanding of the text, based off textual evidence, make sure that you give full, complete responses to these responses. Do it individually, and I have on the sub plan. Do it individually. Then, if there's time and you guys have been working well, you can get together and pair up. And then if there's time, you guys can talk about it as a group. The thing is that, remember to use that language like we've talked about before, where I said, hey, how did you approach number 1? Or how did you think about number 2? Rather than, hey, what'd you have for number 4? Okay. The difference in the way that you ask the question gets a totally different response from your partner. That way you can actually discuss these instead of just saying, hey, I'll copy what you had. All right. Remember, the Zoom is open. I'm available. If you need help, please let me know. I'm here to help. I'm trying to stay in contact. You can email, you can remind, you can hop on the Zoom. All those things are good. So have a great day, and we'll check in again tomorrow.